We've got a lot to talk about today. Fortnite are testing huge new Storm Surge changes, Peterbot managed to qualify for the Divisional Cup on 3 separate regions, we've got a breakdown of the EU Divisional Cup Opens, and a look at the new update. Let's get straight into it. Before we talk about the Divisional Cup, let's go over the Storm Surge changes. If you don't know, Fortnite Competitive tweeted yesterday saying they're completely changing the way Surge works. Previously, the only thing that mattered for Surge was how much damage you did. The teams with the least amount of damage done would be the ones that would suffer from Surge. Now, the way that Storm Surge is calculated is completely different. The new system is that the damage that you take is minused off from the damage that you deal, so you end up with a net damage stat. So for example, if you did 300 damage during a game, but you took 500 damage, you'd end up on minus 200, meaning you'd probably be below Surge. Now this change is pretty controversial. I've seen a lot of people in the community disagreeing with it. Big streamers like Aussie Antics saying he thinks it will reward inactivity and could potentially kill the esport. I personally quite like this change, and I'll explain to you why. Firstly, it completely removes Surge trading. This is an issue that's plagued the game for the last year, and with this change, there's no incentive to do it. It's not worth anything. I also like this system because it's not as convoluted. It's more understandable for a new viewer, and it's easier to track a team's Surge to understand whether they're above or below during the game. I also quite like the idea that Surge can swing at the drop of a hat. The idea that you can do an 100 tag with a revolver, and that can completely change a team's Surge, completely change your Surge. I think that's quite exciting, especially from a viewer perspective. This change definitely isn't perfect. There's a lot of issues that people are raising, but we need to see it in action first. I think a lot of people are writing this off before we've even seen it, and I think that's not right. We should be optimistic about the fact that Epic are trying out new things, and we shouldn't be criticizing it before it's even happened. The Eval Cup is tonight, so we'll see it in action for the first time, and hopefully it's a positive. It's also great to see the Eval Cups being used for their proper purpose, which is to test things out, so I like this from Epic a lot. With that being said, people have pointed out some issues with the system. The idea that you could potentially sit in a box all game and do no damage and potentially survive Surge. I mean, people have said that. That's hypothetical. Surge thresholds will go up and down. So I'm not sure I buy into that too much. Landing at edge map POIs could be quite punishing with the new Surge changes, because you're just going to get tagged on rotates, and that could really affect your total. And as it said in the tweet, if you get rebooted, you keep your net damage, meaning you'll come back into the game with minus damage, making it quite difficult to have any kind of recovery. In terms of how teams will play it, you can expect to see a lot of lurk plays, teams camping, hiding behind things, looking to surprise teams, get a bit of damage on them, and then quickly rotate away. I imagine we'll see a lot of teams starting fights and then quickly disengaging from them once they've got a bit of damage. I imagine that'll probably be the meta. But listen, in my eyes, these problems aren't that major. I really want to see this in action. It's something I've been wanting in the game for quite a while now. I think it's a brilliant solution, probably the best solution they could have come up with, and I hope it works well. I'm interested to know your guys' thoughts on the new Surge update. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So now let's discuss the EU Divisional Cup Opens, and it was won by none other than Chap and Flixie, who won the tournament last week as well. These guys are in incredible form. Managing over 1,000 points is a brilliant achievement. You'd imagine they'd be the favourite for finals. We'll take a look at the map in a minute and you'll see why that isn't quite the case, but a very good achievement from them. They were closely followed by Ping and Kiro, a new trio. It feels like in every video I'm hyping up Ping, saying that he deserves good duo options, and he's proved me right with a brilliant performance, also getting over 1,000 points. I'm sure this team has some big potential. Malabuka and Panzer finishing in third, and then Focus and Haris, a new duo, not one that I know for sure will stick, but they finished fourth, so who knows, maybe this is the start of a new good team. Another new duo in fifth, Shark and Teeny. A lot of people were preying on their downfall this week because they wanted to see Shark playing with Savage, but I really like this duo. I think they could work really well together. It's quite reminiscent of the Teeny Chap duo from Chapter 5. I think these guys will work well together. And if you're curious about Mr. Savage, he couldn't play finals this week, so he played with Julian Com for a bit of fun. Skyjump and Werex in 6th, Peshka and Kolb in 7th, Seti and Demis in 8th, Acer and Podesai in 9th, and Akira and Karama in 10th. It's nice to see some of the French players doing well after what has been a disappointing year for them. One duo that performed well in the cup but won't be appearing in finals is Kalle and Della. The two Swedish players did well, with Kalle having the most damage done in day 1, but they've ended up being disqualified from finals. There's been a lot of speculation over the past week that Kalle might be cheating. In the last few days this has really ramped up, and the fact that he's been disqualified from finals doesn't exactly help his case. From what I understand, he hasn't actually been banned, just disqualified. I'm not quite sure what the situation there is. Something to keep an eye on maybe. Kalle and Della getting disqualified was very beneficial for one team though. Veno and Chino initially finished in 51st place, and with Calais and Della's disqualification, they moved up to 50th, meaning they qualify for finals. So here's the drop map for finals. I'm not going to go into this in too much depth. I'll do my predictions on my Twitter tonight if you want to get involved with that. The reason why I don't want to talk about it too much here is because we had the update today, a lot of changes on the map, which I'll get into later in the video. But for that reason, I think this map is subject to change. As I mentioned before though, Chap and Flixie are not in an ideal situation. They're contested by Gaudetti's team and they've got two other Spanish duos to their right, so it's not looking great for them. You might notice a couple of big duos missing from that map. We had a few miss out. Vico and iDrop didn't qualify, neither did Vanya and Swizzy. Fredoxy and Pablo Wingu also narrowly missing out. Before we discuss the updates in the other regions, let's finish the EU news. We'll start off with some team updates. Murstache is still looking for a duo. It's not clear whether he's going to come back and play with Tayson or not. We'll have to see. I personally still think we might see Queasy and Murstache coming into 2026. Don't get me wrong, I like Queasy and Thomas, but I've just got a feeling that Queasy might end up with Murstache. Mongrel and Marco have also officially split. They've been playing together for a few weeks now. Looked good at one point, just couldn't quite get the results, so they'll both be looking for alternative options. In my last video, I mentioned that some of the Gentlemates players might be looking at leaving. Marius and Swizzy had tweeted that they were looking for options. Since then, Ping has as well. It looks like Marius is going to re-sign with Gentlemates. My gut feeling is that Swizzy probably will as well. We're going to have to wait and see. But right now, Gentlemates fans can be happy that it looks like Marius is here to stay. We also had more qualifiers for the 100k Eraser Solo LAN, which is in Hamburg later this month. Some big pros managed to qualify, including Chino, Scroll, Moneymaker, Flixie, Chap, Ping, Akira, and many, many more. I won't talk about this tournament too much until the qualifiers are done and we know all 100 players, but it's looking very exciting. I think it's going to be good. So let's get into the news that you probably clicked on the video for, which is that Peterbot has qualified for Div Cup finals on 3 regions. A really incredible achievement, especially the fact that he did it with 3 separate people: Acorn on EU, his normal duo Poyo on NA Central, and then Frantic on NA West. In my videos, I generally focus on EU because it's the region that I know the most about, but when something like this happens, I just can't ignore it. Peterbot is set to land at Shogun Solitude in the EU Div Cup finals. We'll have to see how he gets on there. I do hope he performs well. And I will say, it's very refreshing to see an NA team qualify for an EU finals. For so long, it's always been the other way around, and we've never really seen that many NA teams qualify to the top level of EU, but seeing it happen, I'm excited. I hope more teams can do this. Let's now discuss the update, because it's a pretty big one. What they've basically done is remove the whole season. All the bug POIs are all gone, the OXR rank is no longer a thing, the medallions, the mythics, all gone. They've essentially wiped out the season, which I kind of don't mind. It will be interesting to see what the new meta brings. We've got a couple of new POIs. They're just updated versions of the bug spots. You've got Ranger's Rest, Dreamy Domain, Bug Swatter Beach. Because the updates just come out, no one really knows how strong they are. We're going to have to find out tonight in the Eval Cup finals. Also worth noting that the minigun has now been removed. I think that's an item that most people can agree doesn't really have a place in competitive Fortnite. I'm personally very happy about it. Looking ahead, as I mentioned before, the Eval Cup is tonight and then the Divisional Cup finals are Saturday. I think this is an exciting time for competitive Fortnite. There's a lot of changes, the meta's completely changed, the map's very different, Storm Surge has been revolutionized essentially. I think it's important that we approach these changes with positivity and an open mind, because they could end up being really good, and I personally am quite excited about them. Let me know your thoughts on everything I've discussed in the video, the Storm Surge update, who will do well in the Divisional Cup. I want to know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.